Why is it that some chords move us emotionally while others sound plain and boring? Over the last 30 years of playing guitar, I've come to love chords that sound a little more colorful as opposed to just your basic major and minor chords. So if you're looking to spice your chords up a little bit, I'm gonna show you 2 easy ways to instantly make boring chords sound beautiful. I'll give you some really simple examples and then some that are a little more complex, so there's a little something here for everyone. All right, let's start with G major. So a major chord is built from the first, third, and fifth note of the major scale. So in the key of G, that would be G, B, and D. And one easy way we can give that a little more color is by adding the 7th note. So go up the G major scale, 7 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you have an F sharp. So if we add that F sharp up here on the high E string, you get this sound. Second finger on the 3rd fret of the low E string, mute the A string with the bottom of that finger, play the D string and the G string open, the 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and the 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the high E string to get that F sharp in there. Now, not that there's anything wrong with playing a regular major and minor chord. I mean, depending on what you're doing, sometimes that might actually work better. But generally, I try to add more color when I can, when it's appropriate, because I just love the way it sounds. So now let me give you a few other cool ways you can add that 7 note on the G major chord. You can put the F sharp on the 4th fret of the D string to get this color. Now, I really like this one because you have a half step from the F sharp to the G. So a half step is just 1 note apart, F sharp, G, and it gives you that really dissonant sound, which I tend to like. So put the 1st finger on the low E string, 3rd fret, mute the A string with the bottom of that finger, the 4th fret of the D string with your 3rd finger, keep that G string open and make sure you're not muting it with the bottom of that 3rd finger, by the way. And then put your middle finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and then either don't play the high E string, or you can kind of angle your hand down like this to mute it with this part of your index finger. Now, another way you could do that is just by taking that exact same shape, but then adding your pinky here to the 4th fret of the G string, and that gives you a little bit of a jazzy sound. Now, I don't want to get too music theory heavy in this video because I just want to focus on learning the shapes for now, but not all the notes in the chord have to be played. So those 2 shapes, we're playing a G major 7 chord, but we're just using 3 notes, G, D, and F sharp. A major 7 chord is usually built with 4 notes, the 1, 3, 5, and 7, so G, B, D, F sharp in this case, but we're just leaving out the B. You don't always have to play every note in a chord. Sometimes just playing a few notes will give you the sound you want, but as an example, if you're playing an A minor 9 chord, you do want to make sure the 9th is in there and that it's a minor chord. The main thing is to include the notes that define whether the chord is major or minor, and then add any extra notes like the 7th or the 9th. And if that's confusing, don't worry about it for now. Let's just focus on learning these shapes, and we can nerd out more on some music theory stuff in other videos.
Whoa, time out. Trey's editor here. I just wanted to clear something up so there's no confusion. I know he said that those G major 7 shapes didn't have a B in them, but what he meant to say was that the first 2 G major 7 shapes didn't have a B, because the 3rd one did in fact have a B. So just so there's no confusion. Back to you, Trey.
Now, if you're in a major key, these major 7 chords sound really nice on the 1 and the 4 chord. So if we're in the key of G, the 1 chord is G major, and to find the 4 chord, go up the G scale, 4 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have a C. By the way, if you don't know the major scale, I'll put a free cheat sheet in the description with tabs along with all the chords I'm going to show you today. So if you're in the key of G, the 1 and the 4 chord is G major and C major. So now let's try adding the 7th note to the C major chord. Now the easiest way you can do this is just to play a regular C major and then just take your 1st finger off and play that B string open. Or you can use this G major 7 shape and then scoot that up to the 8th fret. So I'm gonna go back and forth a couple times from regular G to C to some of these more colorful examples so you can hear the difference. can see how much of a difference that makes just by adding that one note, the 7. So now I'm going to show you another way you can get some colorful chords, and then I'll give you a few examples on how you can apply these two concepts to even more chords. And instead of showing you a bunch of random chords that don't go together, I'm gonna stay in the key of G today so you can actually use these chords together, and then you can apply these concepts to other chords in different keys. So now we're gonna go up the G major scale and count to 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is an A. So if we add an A to a G major chord, we have what's called a G add 9. Middle finger on the 3rd fret of the low E string, and then mute the A string with the bottom of that finger. Keep the D string open. 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, that's your A, and then B string open. And then I'm just not playing the high E string, or you can put the G up here on the 3rd fret if you want, but that is a G add 9. So now we're going to take these two ideas, adding the 7 or the 9, and apply them to a few other chords in the key of G, starting with A minor. So let's start with the easiest one. If you want to add the 7 to an A minor chord, which would be a G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's a G. And if you don't know how to play the A minor scale, I'll add that to the cheat sheet too. But just play a regular A minor chord and then take your 3rd finger off so you can play that G string open. That's an A minor 7. Or you can play a regular A minor chord and add that G up here instead on the high E string 3rd fret with your pinky. Now if we want to add the 9, which is a B, one of my favorite ways to do this is up here a little higher on the neck. So this is that dissonant sound that I love again, because it's got that half step between the C and the B. So play the A string open, the 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the D string, 1st finger on the 5th fret of the G string, and then play these 2 strings open. You could also add this B up here on the 7th fret of the high E string, or you can take that shape and just bar these 2 notes on the 5th fret of the G and the B string to get this sound. All right, let's go back to the C chords for a second. So we already added the 7, but if you wanted to add the 9, you could do it like this. It's like a G chord using this shape, but then you just move the top 2 fingers down a string. You could also add the 7th and the 9th. So you remember this G major 7 shape I showed you earlier? If you just scoot that exact shape up to the 8th fret, you get a really cool sounding C9 chord. Another cool way you can play a C9 is use this G add 9 shape I showed you earlier and move that up to the 8th fret. Now, if you like those, you're really gonna like the ones I show you at the end, and they're technically not on topic, but I'm gonna show you anyway because they sound so freaking good. But for now, let me show you a couple different ways you can colorize a D chord. So the easiest one is adding the 9. So if you play a regular D major shape, just take this finger off and let that high E string ring out. If you want to add the 7, you could play a D7 chord, which is 1, 3, 5, flat 7, like this. So D string open, G string 2nd fret with the middle finger, B string 1st fret with the 1st finger, and E string 2nd fret with your 3rd finger. And my personal favorite way to play a D chord when I'm in the key of G is like this. So if you play a regular C chord and then just move that shape up 2 frets, you have a D sus add 9 chord. So let me play a G, C, D chord progression using the basic chords and then some more colorful versions to give you an idea of what some of this stuff sounds like in context. right, now let me give you a few E minor shapes and then I'll give you those bonus chords I mentioned earlier. So you can play a regular E minor chord with your first and second finger and then add your third and fourth finger up here on the B string and E string 3rd fret. And what you're doing here is you're adding the 7th, which is this D on the B string. Or you can do it without the pinky, but this way can work nice if you're wanting to use it with these G and C shapes. And then if you wanted to just add the 9, you could add this F sharp on the high E string, 2nd fret. Whew, I like the way that one sounds. So that would be a E minor 9. And one of my personal favorites, you can add the 7th and the 9th. So the low E string is open, the A string, first finger on the 2nd fret, and then you add the 9th, this F sharp with your pinky on the 4th fret of the D string, or you can use your ring finger there. And then the G string is open, and then the 7th with your middle finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, that's your D, and then the high E string open. Or a lot of times I'll play that one like this, where I just take that B note out and I just use these 2 fingers instead. And then I'm muting that A string with the tip of this finger. All right, now for a couple bonus C chords that sound freaking awesome, and I'm giving away all my tricks for free today. So if you dig the way these sound and this video helps, ever so gently tap that like button for me. So on these two, we're gonna add the 9, but also the sharp 11. So the first one is this. Oh my gosh, I love that sound. So you're gonna play the C here, and then you're adding the sharp 11, this F sharp here with your 3rd finger on the 4th fret. And then the G string is open, and then the 3rd fret on the B string with your middle finger, and then the high E string is open. Okay, do you remember this G major 7 shape I showed you earlier? If we take this exact shape and move this finger down to the A string, we have this chord. So starting on the A string, you have 3rd fret, open, open, 3rd fret, 2nd fret. So I'm gonna play these shapes along with some of those G shapes I showed you, just so we can see what it sounds like in context. So if you want to give these a try so you can spice up your chords a little bit, download that cheat sheet in the description and just mess around with different combinations so you can see what you can come up with. But I hope this video helped, and I'll see you next time. Peace.